$21,400. That's what she had transferred to him across 2 years, 6 different reasons, each one explained and thanked in writing. The message that changed everything came on a Thursday afternoon. LinkedIn. A name she didn't recognize. Professional headshot. Marketing director at a firm she'd heard of. I think we need to talk. I believe we've been dating the same man. She read it twice. She typed back one word. When? She didn't tell Caleb. That Saturday she went to dinner with him. She listened to him talk about a project at work. She drove home and said nothing. 4 days later, she sat across from a stranger at a coffee shop. The woman across from her had the same photos on her phone that Maya did. Same vacation. Same restaurant. Same man. Different name. And what the two of them did with that information, he never saw it coming. Maya had been with Caleb for 2 years. She was 36. She had spent a decade building a career in corporate accounting, audits, reconciliations, quarterly closes. She was precise by training and by preference. She did not make impulsive decisions. She was the person her friends called when something felt off and they needed someone to help them think clearly. He was based in Denver. She was in Nashville. He visited once a month, sometimes twice. He was consistent in a way that felt deliberate. He called when he said he would, remembered things she'd mentioned in passing, showed up at the airport with her coffee order already in hand. She had never been to his apartment. He always came to her. She told herself it was easier. He traveled constantly for work. Nashville was more central. She was busy. It wasn't unusual. She had helped him financially 6 times over 2 years. A car repair when he was between pay periods. A deposit on a new lease when his landlord gave him 2 weeks' notice. A flight home for a family emergency that he described in enough detail that she had cried a little when he told her about it. Each time, he paid back part of it within a few weeks. Each time, there was a reason the rest was slow. Total, $21,400. She had every Venmo record, every Cash App confirmation, every text message where he explained the reason and thanked her. She was an accountant. She kept receipts as a reflex. She hadn't been keeping them for any specific reason. There was one thing she had noticed and never followed up on. He had no Instagram. No Facebook. A LinkedIn profile with 3 connections and a photo that looked at least 10 years old. He told her it was a company policy. People in his role weren't supposed to have much of a public footprint. She told herself it made sense. There was something else, too. Something she had filed away without meaning to. 6 months in, she had tried to surprise him in Denver. She booked a flight without telling him and texted him from the gate. He called back within 4 minutes. He sounded panicked in a way she had never heard from him before, not irritated, not surprised, but specifically panicked, like someone calculating rapidly behind the words. His apartment was being fumigated, he said. He was staying at a colleague's place. The timing was genuinely terrible. Could she please come next weekend instead? She stood at the gate and tried to remember if he had mentioned fumigation. She flew home. She told herself it was bad timing. 8 months later, a number labeled Mom rang on his phone during dinner. He didn't pick up. When she asked about it, he said they'd been having some tension. He'd call her when things calmed down. The next time she looked at his phone, the contact wasn't there. She told herself it was a family thing. In month 15, he slipped twice in one conversation, used the name Evan where he clearly meant to say his own name, caught himself both times, laughed it off as a coworker's name stuck in his head, moved past it quickly. She noticed. She noted the name. She didn't say anything. She told herself she'd misheard. But she didn't delete the note. In month 19, she asked to meet his friends the next time she was visiting. He said they were mostly scattered now, people moved around. He'd introduce her when the timing was right. She told herself it was fine. Renee was 34. She lived in Atlanta. She had been with a man named Evan for 2.5 years. He had never come to Atlanta, not once. She always made the drive to Charlotte. She told herself it was his schedule, the apartment, the parking situation in her neighborhood. He had also asked her for a deposit 9 months in, $4,200, landlord giving him 30 days notice, needed it by end of week. She sent it the same afternoon he called. He paid back $600 2 months later and said the rest was coming. She slid her phone across the coffee shop table. Same face. Same smile. The same photo from a lake house weekend, the one he told Maya belonged to a friend of his in Michigan. He told Renee it was his family's cabin in Wisconsin. Maya pulled up her own phone. They sat there for 40 minutes going through everything. The contact names first. Maya had him as Caleb, Renee had him as Evan. Different phone numbers, both prepaid carriers. The calls, always scheduled, never spontaneous. Neither of them could remember a single time he had called without texting first to say he was going to call. The visits, always to her city, never his. Maya had been to Denver 0 times. Renee had been to Charlotte 0 times. Both had an explanation they had filed away and stopped examining. The financial asks spread just far enough apart to feel reasonable, with just enough partial follow-through to never trigger alarm. They laid them out side by side on the table. Different dates. Different stated reasons. The same structure, an ask, a specific timeline, a partial payment, a reason the rest was still coming. Renee had transferred him $16,700. Different platform. Different account name. But when she pulled up her wire confirmation from 19 months ago, she read out the routing number. Maya looked at her own records. Same routing number. Same bank account. She put her phone down on the table. Renee asked, "Is there anything else you found unusual? Any name he mentioned that didn't quite fit?" Maya thought about the slip. The name Evan, corrected twice. She opened a third search. She found a LinkedIn profile. Same photo. Different city. Different name. 0 connections. She screenshotted it and sent it to Renee. They didn't confront him. They gave themselves 2 weeks. They were methodical about it. Renee found a civil litigation attorney in Georgia who had handled wire fraud cases. Maya spent 3 evenings reconstructing a full timeline, every transfer with its date and stated reason, every text confirming the ask, every partial repayment with its own message attached. She had 2 years of records kept out of professional habit, and she organized them the way she would have organized a client audit, chronologically, cross-referenced, sourced. She overnight shipped the complete package to Renee's attorney. Renee did the same with hers. The attorney reviewed everything in 3 days. He called them both on the same call. Between them, they had 2 complete financial records, 2 communication histories, a pattern of identical behavior in 2 separate cities, and the same bank account receiving funds from both of them across 26 months. She filed on behalf of both women, wire fraud, unjust enrichment, fraudulent misrepresentation. 3 counts each. 2 plaintiffs. 1 defendant. He was served simultaneously at the address he had given Maya and the address he had given Renee. Neither address was in Denver. His attorney's position was that the transfers had been voluntary. The relationships had been genuine. There had been no misrepresentation. Maya's attorney placed the Venmo records on the table. 21 transfers. Each with the accompanying message he had sent stating the reason, and her reply confirming she was sending it. Renee's attorney placed her records. 16 transfers. Same stated reasons on different dates. Different platform. Same bank account. Then the routing number matched both sets of transfers to the same account across 26 months. Then the lake house photo, with 2 different captions he had sent to 2 different women in the same week. Then the 3 LinkedIn profiles. Same photo. 3 names. 3 cities. 0 connections between them. The judge reviewed the evidence without speaking. Then she said, "The pattern of coordinated misrepresentation across multiple relationships, multiple states, and multiple financial platforms is not ambiguous. This constitutes wire fraud and unjust enrichment by sustained design. Restitution order, $38,100. Full combined total. Plus legal fees. He sold a motorcycle and a camera to cover it. The camera, it turned out, was the one he had used to take the lake house photo. Maya received $21,400. Renee received $16,700. The third LinkedIn profile, the search for whoever was behind it, was still open when the judgment came down. He spent 4 years building 2 separate lives across 3 cities, with a third profile open somewhere that nobody had fully traced yet. Renee said she'd keep looking. She filed a separate inquiry with the court 3 weeks after the judgment. There was no news yet. 2 women who had never met before compared notes over coffee for 40 minutes and built a case. Between them they had every text, every transfer, every receipt. They had been careful with their documentation for the same reason he had assumed they wouldn't be, because that's what responsible people do with their finances. It just turned out to be useful for something other than they expected. If her story hit close to home, subscribe. We share stories like this every week. And if someone has ever made you feel like keeping records was unnecessary, you're not alone. Tell us in the comments.